Hello, this is Mohammad Amin Orbani, and welcome to the Voice of an Iranian. Today we are hosting Mehrdad Torabi, international relations researcher from the University of Bologna, Italy. Hello, Mehrdad, and welcome to the Voice of an Iranian.
Hello, Mohammed. It's a pleasure to be with you, talking to you. I'm looking forward for our discussion. Very excited.
It's a pleasure. It's a great pleasure being with you. Okay, Mehrdad, we've seen that the media outlets around the world are still discussing the assassination of Dr. Fakhrizadeh after 2 weeks. Um, they're still discussing and talking about aspect of this assassination. Um, what do you hear in Italy?
Well, in Italy, we should not, I think, distinguish Italy from the United States or Britain, because what we are confronting is actually all liberal democracies. Okay. So Italy is also following the footsteps of media in other countries like the United States, the Zionist regime, Great Britain. Um, but to a lesser degree. I mean, Italy is more a neutral country, but however, its corporate media is set there to propagate, to spread propaganda against countries in the region of Western Asia. So basically, what we hear in Italy is the same as we hear from BBC saying that Martyr Fakhrizadeh was basically in charge of an institution that was pursuing to achieve nuclear weapons. This is not true. This is all propaganda. In fact, we know that 92% of inspections of the Atomic Energy Agency has been carried out in Iran, and this is basically a propaganda, just the same that they have always spread propaganda in order to justify their crimes, their malign behavior. For instance, if we look backward to 16th or 17th century, we realize how European countries, in order to bring economic prosperity to their own societies, they started colonizing other countries. But then they spread propaganda showing African people, people of color, Asian people, as savage, uncivilized. So these pictures showing them as uncivilized sort of justified their presence in those countries, colonizing and stealing, plundering their countries. This is exactly the same. So we are not just confronting the United States or the Zionist regime, but we are confronting liberal democracies that want to dominate and take control of our planet.
Do they seem to be condemning the assassination?
In fact, they do not. They do not condemn assassinations. They talk about, resilience, showing somehow they don't condemn, but they want to Iran to show diplomacy. I mean, in as regards a assassination. This is something very huge. They have assassinated an official position in the Islamic Republic, a scientist in the Islamic Republic, but they want Iran to show more resilience, diplomacy, in order to solve this problem. But I think this not condemning the act of terror is their double standard that we have always seen from liberal democracies.
As you rightly pointed out, not only he was a nuclear scientist, but also he was the deputy minister of defense. And on the other hand, many media outlets around the world hold Israel responsible for the attack. Do the media outlets in Italy hold Israel responsible?
They do not, because well, Israel is the forefront of all of the Western countries, especially as I mentioned, liberal democracies that want to take control of our planet. So they do not they do not hold Israel, the Zionist regime, responsible for assassinations. Um, but also at the time, I mean, it's we have different media. I mean, some media point out, quoting other media, that well, Israeli regime can be responsible for this attack because they have different vision. We can say one part is trying, that is more conservative, is trying to escalate the tensions between the Islamic Republic, not just the Islamic Republic, but the resistance axis, wants to basically increase the tensions in the region of Western Asia. So they claim that Israeli regime sort of have somehow responsibility in this regard. And some media believe that this is not the Israeli regime. They want to somehow, cover assassination and support the regime of Israel in public opinion.
And also, what do people around you at the University of Bologna say about the assassination?
Well, in university, I mean, they are no exception to other people. People in Western countries live in a situation that their mind is fully controlled by propaganda that is spreading, that is disseminating by huge corporate media. So and we have all of these theories, all of these efforts in order to study more communication, study more media in order to infiltrate minds of people. And this is really happening here. Many resemble this to the Orwellian fascism of 1984, that people live somehow in a society that they are brainwashed, they are completely living in the way that media shapes the world for them. And we always talk about how media actually mediatizes our perspective. But unfortunately, people in university, also regular people, they do not have time to research. They do not have time to find out about the reality, but they just consume passively all of the information that media is feeding them.
Considering Iran's position, power, and abilities, do you think that Iran is going to respond back?
It is actually a very interesting question. So I do not see that Iran will respond with. Many people talk about an all-out war with the Zionist regime, but that's not gonna. I think at this moment that is not gonna happen, because we must consider that the Islamic Republic, in particular, and the resistance axis in general, is dominating the region. It's important to notice that. I mean, we have very good relationship with Iraq. We have a very good relationship with Syria, good relationship with Lebanon. In fact, we are pushing back, not just we have created an iron curtain in front of the Zionist regime, but we are also pushing them back to liberate Golan Heights and occupied territories of Lebanon. In Yemen, we have basically Yemeni people. Despite 20 million of Yemeni people are being starved in Yemen, they have infiltrated in the soil of Saudi regime. So we are the dominant force in the region. But we should always bear in mind that dominant force always wants to maintain and preserve the status quo. Okay, we do not want to escalate tensions, because escalating tension is will give the opportunity to the Zionist regime to somehow ally to somehow bring European countries and the United States in something catastrophic in the region. What I'm saying is that we are dominating at the end of the day in the region, and the most, I think, the best response that we should give is our progress. Okay, our progress, our success to fortify our domination in the region. And despite our leader has said that there will be a response to the Zionist assassination, but I believe that's not going to be an all-out war. It's going to be a proportionate response to the Zionist assassination.
What's in it for the Israeli regime to take out an Iranian scientist?
Well, they are, this is what I believe. I think they are using this opportunity that Iran wants peace in the region, because, as I mentioned, it already dominates the region. The resistance axis is the dominant force in the region. They are using this in order to show that Iran has some security problems. Okay, and if other countries believe that Iran has security problems, they will bandwagon themselves with the Zionist regime. So the Zionist regime will get more allies, and this really fits in all of the normalization ties that the Zionist regime is carrying out. Countries that are weak, countries that cannot defend themselves by themselves, and they need a foreign force in order to protect them. So for instance, we're talking about UAE, we're talking about Bahrain here, and compare Iran's population, Iran's independence, Iran's technology to all of these countries. It will somehow, they will be more determined if they see that Iran has some security problem. They will bandwagon. They will be more determined to bandwagon themselves with the Zionist regime. But we must always bear in mind that, as I mentioned, at the end of the day, this is the resistance axis that is dominating the region. And another fact that I want to mention is our progress. It's really important, because our independence, our progress, is the only thing. Not just our progress. The progress of the Islamic world is the thing that they do not like.
How do you think that Iran should respond in order to prevent other incoming attacks?
I think this is not something new. I mean, there has been 17,000. I mean, they have assassinated 17,000 Iranian officials and people. Okay, and it will never actually, I think, end. We must to have more layers of security, I believe, because security is layer by layer. We will need to strengthen our security system, more layers of security, but this is not something that I think will stop forever. Okay, I mean, if you think about like your European countries, terrorism happens in European countries. Terrorism happens. I mean, shootings happen in the United States on a daily basis. This security needs to be strengthened, more layers of security, but this is something that we should, and we will, go along with it. Okay, we should deal with it day by day. So this is not gonna be like everything is going to be perfect if we do this do some security measures. We should fight against assassinations, against all of these malign behaviors, uh, on a daily basis.
Do you think that are there any other hands involved? Supposedly, the Americans, some Arab regimes in Persian Gulf, or the Europeans?
I believe yes. I mean, the United States, the Zionist regime is, in fact, performing orders of the United States. So, as I mentioned, the Zionist regime is the forefront of liberal democracies against the Islamic world, against also our country. And also Saudis, and other Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, they have been supporting terrorism, ISIS, in the region in Syria. So they are all somehow cooperating with each other against the Islamic world, against the Islamic Republic, and also MEK, like Mujahideen Khalq. They are also supported. They have extensive support from the United States and also European countries. So yes, they are all cooperating to take the control of the region by assassinations, by invading countries.
Yes. Some say Israel wants Iran to react dramatically to escalate tension in the region, maybe to drag Iran to edge of war with the Israeli regime or the United States. What's your viewpoint?
I believe, as I mentioned, I believe the axis of resistance already is dominating the region. We do not need to escalate tensions. We need to progress. We need progress. And this progress also includes our missile technologies, our nuclear technologies. Okay, we need, and we are also responsible for people in other nations. I mean, think about people in Lebanon. Think about people in Syria. They are already suffering from the United States and the Zionist regime aggression. Okay, we want to stabilize the region and end this suffering that is plaguing our region for 20 years. I mean, 20 million people in Yemen are suffering, and we already dominate the region. So we don't need to escalate tensions, but we need to strengthen our domination over the region. And this is not this is, as I mentioned, not something new. 17,000 Iranians have been murdered unfortunately, by these assassinations. But at the end of the day, we still dominate the region, and I hope for peace and stability.
Yes. After the assassination of Dr. Fakhrizadeh, what do you think is going to happen to the JCPOA?
Well, JCPOA is this is a very difficult question, but JCPOA is so we see counter sanction measures by the Iranian parliament. I think that was a very good approach to double standards of liberal democracies. But what is important, I think, here is that we have not suffered you know any kind of terrorism like economic terrorism and real assassinations in order to we have not suffered all of these to subjugate ourselves to the liberal international order. That's really important. What they want is to engage Iran now with a lot of international liberal international institutions, to engage Iran with a lot of treaties and so on and so forth. And this really, I think, subordinates the Islamic Republic, and it really subordinates our independence. We must be independent. We need to renew our technologies. We need to reach to the peaks of progress. And as I mentioned, this also includes our missile technologies. So I really don't think that there will be no more negotiations. That's for sure. But also we should bear in mind that we should not fall a prey to the liberal international order.
Do you think is there a chance for Biden administration to go back to the agreement?
In fact, I believe they will go back to agreement because this is how they work. They go back to agreement, but they won't stop there. Okay, so the Democrats in the United States, they are liberals. They are very basically. So the Trump administration, I have said always that Trump administration was not the problem. Trump administration was manifestation of the problem. The real problem is the system itself, the liberal international order that wants to conquer the world. And Biden will be there to not to confront Iran, but to not to contain the Islamic Republic, but engage Iran in more and more institutions with liberal ideas, with economic interdependence. We must be careful about that. But yes, they will. I believe they will engage Iran with this economic interdependence that would undermine Iran's independence. As I mentioned, we must be careful about that.
Thank you very much, Mehrdad Rabi from the University of Bologna, Italy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.